Okay, hello everybody. It's Crazy Tom, and I'm back with a special Sunday edition of What Drives Me Crazy as we do this on this Sunday, April the 7th. This show, by the way, presented by CrazyTomShirts.com. And there's always a shirt for somebody at CrazyTomShirts.com. Just go to my website and see. And anything you order until tomorrow night, you get 15% off. All you need to do is type in the promo code Quake15. That's Quake15 being the number 15 to get 15% off of your order, whether it be shirts or tank tops or tumblers or anything like that. They're out there at CrazyTomShirts.com. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be doing a show regarding surviving the earthquake and the eclipse all in a matter of 4 days, but I may have to consider that. But we got crazy shouts going out to Georgia Lynn, who's out in Mississippi, who's checking me out here. So crazy shouts to you. Thanks as always for your support, and hope you're doing well down in Mississippi, and hopefully nothing burns during the solar eclipse. Now, what I want to do is give you some quick things in regards to the Monday solar eclipse. Now, I just found out that for my work tomorrow, I'm going to be in Villanova around about the time the eclipse starts. So this is going to be rather interesting because who knows if that's going to affect flight delays or things like that. But for you numerology people, consider if you want to play a Powerball number or a Mega Millions number, use either 4 or 8, or those two numbers in like your local pick 3 or pick 4, whatever they are, because they seem extremely relevant. Now, the last time there's been such talk of an eclipse was back in 1979. Now, a lady named Sherry wrote on Friday that she found a newspaper. It's called the Sunday Journal, but I'm not exactly sure what state or city it comes from. But the main headline was this: Millions see eclipse, next showing in 2024. Blackout total in some areas. So that's really rather interesting. And she wrote, "It's March 1979, and I'm 11 years old. This was so very cool. We got to see this by poking a hole in a paper plate. I still don't understand why I couldn't just look at it. The paper says it will happen again in 2024. Wow, I can't imagine even being alive then because I would be 55. No way." It's just truly unbelievable, the timing of the eclipse. Now, of course, as we all know, on Friday, we had literally, as I want to type in one of the things I wanted to share with you. Reminder, on Friday, we had a 4.8 on the Richter scale that was misreported earlier. It said 5.5 in North Plainfield, but it got redacted and moved to a 4.8 out of Cokesbury, Lebanon, White House Station, New Jersey. Not only that, Brazil also got a 4.8 earthquake. When's the eclipse? Tomorrow, April the 8th, 4/8. What the bleep is going on here with this numerology all of a sudden? And then somebody posted this just a couple of days ago. We have the earthquake at 4.8 on the Richter scale. The eclipse is on 4/8. And then we have this from the book of Exodus, chapter 4, verse 8. And it says, God said, "If they will not believe you or listen to the first sign, they may believe the latter sign." That is absolutely crazy. Now, there have been posts now, I don't know where this originated, but I saw one which had a picture of the Statue of Liberty being hit by lightning during storms in New York City on Wednesday. Now, this person wrote, "I'm sure all these crazy coincidental happenings and predictions are all just coincidence. And with the solar eclipse Monday and 3 rockets being set off Monday and CERN starting up Monday and the lightning strike and devil comet and 4.8 earthquake, let's not forget the eclipse tomorrow on 4/8 and Exodus chapter 4 verse 8. Oh, I can't forget the red heifers. All are simply coincidental. For Americans, this is an election year, so we all know insanity is about to ensue. For Christians, we know God has been trying to get our attention for a long time now, and yet the world continues to choose grave evil in their own free will. So the questions that come up are you sending your kids to school on Monday? And what are your family's thoughts on everything? it really does make you think, because I mean we've been fooled many a time. Of course, Family Radio came out with the prediction on May 21st being Judgment Day, and the rapture happening on that day. I was in a shower at the Great Wolf Lodge in Virginia when the so-called 6 p.m. rapture was supposed to happen, and then I got a text message saying, now that the rapture has come and gone, we can get back to business here. And really, nothing happened. So basically, it was a advertising, and a very evil advertising ploy from what is supposed to be a Christian radio station. But you have to remember, you cannot worship both God and money. No person can serve two masters. And yet, stations like Family Radio and K-Love and other networks always seem to want money. And when that happens, that is a major, major problem. Now, something else to consider. Courtesy of Fox Digital, I wanted to share this with you. Safety tips for driving during the eclipse. And I should take this to heart myself, because I will be on the road around the time the eclipse happens tomorrow afternoon. Yes, the solar eclipse is one day away, and with spectators gathering in locations nationwide to enjoy the spectacle, drivers on the road have to be careful. By the way, this is written by Daniel Miller of Fox TV Digital. Officials are encouraging drivers to plan ahead and to use common sense when the total solar eclipse takes place on April the 8th. And I'm not sure why a replay video is coming up. But whether you're planning to drive to find the ideal spot to see the eclipse, or you're just on the road during that time, AAA has some helpful travel and safety tips. Listen to this. Driving while trying to view the solar eclipse can be more of a distraction than texting, and it can also damage your eyesight. Authorities and highway safety advocates encourage drivers to avoid stopping on the side of a busy highway or slowing down in the middle of the road. Drivers who want to see the solar eclipse should pull over to the side of the road and park in a safe area away from traffic. While wearing certified safety glasses to view the eclipse, the eyewear should not be worn while driving, and AAA notes drivers should also avoid trying to take a photo or video of the solar eclipse. When driving on the road, you should keep your headlights on and to pull down the visor in your car to block the view of the sun. AAA also reminds drivers to be aware of pedestrians who may be walking around with their eyes on the sky and may not be aware of their surroundings during the eclipse. It's also a good idea to determine when to leave home during the eclipse in advance, because traffic could be a problem depending on where you're going. Now, what they're saying is Dallas, Austin, and San Antonio are the most popular cities along the path of totality. Indianapolis, Cleveland, and Buffalo are also top eclipse viewing destinations according to AAA booking data. In one Twitter X post, he talked about Airbnbs being sold out along the path of totality. For instance, one person put up, according to data from AirDNA, most nights in Dallas, Texas were booked more than 2 months ago. Wow. And that's not even for a Super Bowl, which was very poorly conceived back in 2011. Now, the April 2024 solar eclipse will be visible, at least in part, to nearly everyone in the U.S. However, the path of totality, where the moon will completely block out the sun, is a 115 mile wide region that stretches from southern Texas up through Ohio, then over to northern Maine. So, large cities in the path of totality will include the following: Austin and Dallas, Texas; Little Rock, Arkansas; Carbondale, Illinois; Indianapolis; Cleveland; Buffalo and Plattsburgh, New York; and Presque Isle in Maine. The farther you are from that path, less and less of the sun will appear to be blocked. Now, consider this backdrop. George C. Upper III from the Western Journal wrote this article yesterday and talked about scientists warning people that the eclipse totality path has shifted from what was previously projected. So, what he is saying is the projected path of totality has shifted enough that some people who were expecting to see the full Monty without leaving their homes may be disappointed. Forbes reported last weekend that a new eclipse map based on an updated figure for the radius of the sun was published recently by John Irwin, a master in eclipse computations. And I haven't taken a look at the map below yet, but think about this. If you've been thinking how lucky you are to be right on the fringe of the area where the total eclipse will be viewable, that might not be the case. In fact, the issue stems from the fact that no one is absolutely certain about the diameter of the sun. I'll be fine, it's really surprised the author. Scientists confidently state where pandemics come from or don't, or by how many degrees the Earth's average temperature is going to rise over the next 5 decades. But they don't know how big the sun is? Really? I mean, humans have been looking at the sun for forever. Since there have been humans, think about it that way, since there have been humans, no one has figured out how to measure it yet. Why? Think about the sun being only the source of all our planet's energy, the largest object in our solar system, about 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit on the outside, and nearly 27 to 30 million degrees on the inside. But people are even questioning that the sun may not be the largest object in the solar system, but there's no way to know for sure. So if you don't know how big a light source is, it's going to be challenging to predict the size of the shadow it might cast. Other measurements are important, of course, and we know those with some confidence. The distance between the sun, moon, and Earth, for instance, and the size of the moon that will be casting the shadow that we call an eclipse. But the size of the sun? One scientist who has been working for over 10 years on solar eclipse calculations told Forbes that number is basically up to the person doing the math. In an email to Forbes written by Luca Caglia, the solar radius is one of the parameters that enter into eclipse computations, but the choice of its value is really left to the eclipse computer. Now, for well over a century, scientists have generally used the standard value of 959.63 arc seconds, where an arc second being 1/3600th of a degree, according to Forbes. Now, Caglia said, measurements and observations in the last decade have demonstrated that this value is slightly too small. The actual diameter is now thought to be more like 960 arc seconds. That's enough of a difference to shift the path of fatality by more than 1/3 of a mile. At any rate, the new map shows, and I'm trying to take a very, very close look and see if I can go forward here. Now, you'll notice that on the map I'm looking at, it starts out in the Pacific, goes a little northwest of Guadalajara. It will travel it's going to be well north of Mexico City, but it will bypass Monterrey. But it should be, there's like 3 lines. There's a left, center, and right line. The right line should be all over San Antonio. Dallas should be in between the first and second lines. Memphis is just missing the 3rd line, but Little Rock literally is right over the middle line. Continuing over, it looks like to be, shall we say, the yellow line just south of Indianapolis, but right in that corridor. Cincinnati is actually hitting that 3rd line on the outside. And then going through, it also hit Columbus, Ohio, it looks like, and all along Interstate 71, all the way to Cleveland. And then Erie looks like it's going to be in that yellow line. Buffalo, New York, the same thing. And then going further up, Toronto is just missing it by the north of the first line by a little bit, and so is Ottawa. However, it looks like just outside of Saratoga Springs will just miss that 3rd line. Montreal is literally on that first line, and it's going to go over Presque Isle, Maine, and go literally over the province of New Brunswick. But take note, this map is based on that 960 arc second estimate that no one is apparently certain. Nobody is apparently certain is accurate. So it's really something to look at, especially at a time like this. But getting back to the safety asking what time the solar eclipse will be. From the article, it notes that southern Texas will see the peak of totality first, around 1:30 p.m. Central Daylight Time. It moves to Dallas at 1:42, as against Central Time, with the time getting later and later as the moon's shadow moves north. Indianapolis will see the peak around 3:05 p.m. as it moves to Eastern Daylight Time. Then 10 minutes later, Cleveland at 3:15, and northern Maine, Presque Isle, probably around 3:30 p.m. However, it will take several hours for the moon to move across the sun, so the actual eclipse event will start just over an hour before the peak of totality, with more and more of the sun slowly being blocked. So how long is the solar eclipse going to take? Again, it depends on where you are. Those closest to the center of the path will see total darkness for about 4 minutes at the peak of totality. But because the moon moves slowly across the sun's path, the entire eclipse event, from when the moon first clips the sun until the time it clears, will last from 90 minutes to over 2 hours for those in the path of totality. Another question is, where do you look for it? The easiest way to know may be to step outside in the days leading up to the eclipse and see where the sun is during the afternoon. Early afternoon on April the 8th, the sun will be pretty high in the sky. But as always, though, the further north you are, the lower in the sky the sun will appear. For instance, in Austin, the sun will be at 67 degrees up from the horizon at the peak of totality. Now keep in mind, 90 degrees is straight up, so 67 degrees is just over 2/3 up into the sky from the horizon. But in Cleveland, meanwhile, the sun will be slightly lower at only 49 degrees, just over halfway up in the sky. Finally, the question asks, if somehow I missed this eclipse, when's the next one? Now, there was a post on Facebook which stated that November 2099 will be the next solar eclipse, but that was obviously a joke. Because after tomorrow, NASA says the next total solar eclipse visible from any point in the contiguous United States will occur 20 years from now in 2044. I pray to God I'll be here for that and I still have my eyesight. Totality will only be visible, however, from North Dakota and Montana. And the next total solar eclipse that will travel across the lower 48s from coast to coast will be 2045. So what they're saying is 2 solar eclipses, but it's not going to be till 2 decades. In 2044, when I'll be 72, totality will only be visible from North Dakota and Montana. But then the next year, 2045, it will travel across the lower 48 states. So this might be a once-in-a-lifetime event for some people. So, and I was only 7 years old when the last big-time eclipse happened. I remember when there was a partial eclipse, I think it was in middle school. We had classes, and all the shades were down and classes were business as usual. Lots of places, though, are offering states of emergencies in regards to this eclipse, especially in Arkansas, where we are definitely seeing a lot of this stuff. With Little Rock being in that path of totality, it's just unbelievable how people are reacting. The question is this an overreaction like Y2K was? I really don't know. The only thing to know is to, I guess, find out for yourself. And then ask the questions, are these coincidences? Is it time to get right? It's been time to get right for a long, long time. Somebody noted here, and let me just try here. People obviously have been making ridiculous political posts and what have you in regards to the eclipse, making fun of Chris Christie, Lizzo, Donald Trump, Marjorie Taylor Greene, all those people. But make sure that when you see the eclipse, have the proper seeing equipment to go with that. And it really is one of those crazy things. I'm trying to see one more thing here. Local weather lady Cecily Tynan, who's been around with Channel 6 in Philadelphia for a long time, She said, "I'm hearing of events being canceled Monday afternoon and people being worried about letting their dogs out due to the darkness. But outside the path of totality, it won't get dark during the eclipse, just a bit dull, like during an overcast day." So it's something to look at. One other person put out here, and I'm going to leave this with a MJ Truth Ultra. Very quick reading. The solar eclipse tomorrow, the signs and symbols. The 2017 and 2024 solar eclipses nearly match the Space Command logo. And then they bring out some things on Christianity or Luciferian or Trey Smith's thoughts. And it's very interesting because he brings up Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. God said he made the heavenly bodies above for signs and seasons. Well, the last few solar configurations also look like the Aleph and the Tav. Aleph is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and Tav is the last. This sign happens on April 8th. 8 is an ancient symbol of new beginnings, just like there were 8 people on Noah's Ark. For those against America with occult Luciferian belief sets, they might believe it's time for America to end now. From a Christian belief set, it might mark a time that the Lord is putting his cross, the Aleph and the Tav, the beginning and the end, the Alpha, the Omega, a sign of his cross over the United States. And Trey Smith made this quote really quick. "This land was founded by godly people and the prayers they had for this nation. The Lord put an incredible blessing on the United States. I do not believe that he has changed his mind, nor has he forgotten the prayers of all those who have laid their lives on the highest altars of sacrifice for the United States." That includes our military who fought for us too. Keep that in mind. So guys, get your proper eyewear equipment, and no matter where you go for tomorrow, be safe no matter what. That's it for another edition of Crazy Times What Drives Me Crazy, presented by CrazyTimesShirts.com. Remember, 15% off until tomorrow using the promo code Quake15, the number 15, again, at CrazyTimesShirts.com. Follow me on Twitter, X, Gab, as well as Instagram, at Crazy Time Show. And you know, more shows will be coming, but my next one will probably be Tuesday. Thanks for watching, everybody. Again, please be safe out there. And join me next time for another edition of Crazy Times What Drives Me Crazy. It's time for me to get to real paying work. Be well, take care, and I'll see you next time.